Hanks here. So this is, what is this, video number 3? 2? Whatever. It's video number 2 as far as I'm concerned, because it actually has me talking in it, of the jazz journey I've been on. Last time, when I was talking anyway, we talked a bit about all the various types of chord changes you can make, all the different ways you can change chords in a 2-5-1 chord progression in jazz, and what all I was studying and learning about all of that. Very fascinating stuff to me, and it continues to boggle my mind. I even thought of other ways you can mess with chords and stuff like that. But today I wanted to talk about bass notes. When I released the video for Autumn Leaves, what seemed to be lacking, to me anyways, was that real old school jazzy bass noting in the guitar that I love to hear. And so what I decided to do is kind of practice that a bit and kind of remember, how do you make good sounding jazz bass notes on the guitar, so you're not just playing chords and melodies, but now you're incorporating more aspects of a full band sound on one instrument. So let's get started. It really helps if you know at least a good chunk of the notes on the first or the top 2 strings, your E and your A string. Mainly because that's where your bass notes are going to come from mainly. Let's just take our 2-5-1 in the key of C major chord progression that we had last time. D minor 7, G major 7, C major 7. And then kind of familiarize yourself with, say, what key would this be in again? C major. Familiarize yourself with the C major scale on the E string and on the A string. In other words, what are all the notes you can find that are in the key of C major? So for instance, on the E string, all the notes for C major would be E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and I'll stop there. On the A string, you have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So there, those are all of our options as far as bass notes go. First, you have to keep in mind how many beats does each chord get in the piece. Are you playing a song or a piece that every chord gets 4 beats? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if so, where's the accent? Well, typically it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stuff like that is very important, especially when constructing a bass line. So your first chord is D. Next question you want to think about is, okay, where am I starting and where am I going next? What version of D minor do I want to start with, and what version of G7 do I want to go to? Well, in this case, we're starting on the 5th position, the A string, for D minor 7, and then we're moving to the 3rd position on the E string for our G7. So using our math skills, we can kind of construct a bass line that kind of melodically moves backwards into that G7 from this D minor 7. Let's just kind of create something here. So what I'm going to do is just strum the chord, move backwards. Now how many notes was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and already I started the next measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, G7. So there we have a little bit of a bass line created. It's really not terribly difficult. And I think I was at least very mystified by it when I first heard it. I think it's just because, oh my gosh, there's so much going on with both hands, I don't know what to do. there's a couple of things you can do there. So we landed on G major or G7, and now we're going to move to C major 7 for our resolution, which will get 8 beats really. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then it starts back over. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And if you notice, the G7 is a lower chord than C major 7. And the D minor 7 was higher than G7. So from D minor we had to go down with our bass notes to reach the G. But to get to C major 7 we're going to have to go up with our bass notes. So let's try this. So using the notes of our C major scale, let's give this a shot. And then we can go back up. A, B. Now, all I did there was just played the chord, and then A, B, C note, and then the C major 7 chord to start the next, or the third measure. But to me that sounds kind of, for lack of a better word, boring. Because you're just hitting the bass note of the next chord before you play the next chord. And I like to keep things mixed up. I don't like to hit the same note and then hit the same note again too many times. To me that is like making a mistake when it's really not, but whatever. So how are we going to fix that? Well, get a little creative. Strum your chord, A note, B note, skip the C note, hit the D note, and go to your next measure with C major 7. Let's listen to what all that sounds like together. Okay, here we go. Cool, huh? Sounds very jazzy, as it should. But what do we do when we have two measures back to back that play the same chord? That's where it can actually get fun, because then you can do whatever you can kind of create a bass note that kind of melodically moves however you want it to, I would think. So from the C major 7 chord, because we're just going to go right back to a C major 7 chord, you could either stick with this C major 7 chord, or you could go up high, or you can play the relative minor chord, and that way you'll actually start a 6-2-5-1 chord progression. But let's just keep it simple. Let's just say we want to keep it right here. So one thing you could do, you could go up. You could just kind of move up with a D to an E to a D, back to the C major, and then, well, let's not worry about that measure yet. So let's do this. C major 7 to a D note to an E note on the 4th string. Okay, so maybe we should learn a little bit about the 4th string too. Just trust me, that's an E. So we got C major 7, D, E, back to D, C major 7 for the 4th measure. So all together. Cool. Now, did you see what I just did there? I did a real crazy little bass line leading back into the D minor 7. So, and all it was, I stayed on the A string the whole time. Strum, B note, C note, E note, and then it all started over again. So now we have a looping bass line that can go for as long as you want it to. Let's play it all together now. So, Before I go today, I wanted to leave you guys a little something something. It's another rendition of Autumn Leaves, this time with bass notes or bass lines constructed underneath. There's a little bit of syncopation or off rhythmic things that I do with the bass lines and everything. Something for you to kind of study and analyze and maybe learn how to do. Until then, though, it's good seeing you guys. Once again, thank you for everybody who's joining me on this journey of mine. It's been a lot of fun. I'll see you guys later.